and we need to change this, but there's a really big stigma with mental health, and we need to fix that and address that. And like you said, I think mental health is just as important as physical health. To be physically fit, we go to the gym, we try to eat healthy, we exercise, we take the vitamins. Like you said, we go to the doctor. It should be similar with mental health. Like, it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to talk to someone and to figure some of these things out without going through, deep depression or anxiety. And that will help people, because anything that would be donated just goes right back into the community. We've already been approached by a couple different places about doing a community garden. Like, that's what we do, is advocate for people and speak up for people, and that needs to continue. And I was like, I love that, and we need more of that. I'm the co-founder, and Caitlin is a co-founder. And the group is called Marshall County Human Rights Advocacy. And we just basically started up, I think, late April this year. And from May till now, we feel like we've done a whole lot of things, even though some people are just now hearing about us, which is fine. But we already had a food drive back in July. And that was pretty successful, but we didn't have a lot of community engagement. So now that we're a little further, and just like you were talking about, you kind of do things and then you learn like what to change or what to tweak as you go on. And so we've done that, and we've, added food drop off points, and we're trying to get the word out earlier and get people involved and come out and tell, people about the events like we are doing here. So.
Yeah, I've seen several of the pictures you've seen. It looked like you had a pretty good turnout with the food.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
really
Even,
great.
like I said, as little participation as we really had from the community, we did have a pretty good turnout. I think in July, just the items that we had collected in that short amount of time were right under like 400 food items. And then we even had some items donated that were part of like a summer feeding program. And I think that was for about 70 families. And all of that went to, I won't say all of it went to Needline, but most of it goes to Needline. And then we also donated to God's Promise.
Okay, those are two other organizations already.
Yes, that are already established. And so any resources that are already established, we're trying to find out about those resources, meet with the people who run the places, and then provide that information to the community. And then also, help them with their needs. And so they can keep helping people, just like the food drive. And so this year, or this food drive rather, we are helping Needline, God's Promise, and Marcella's Kitchen. They have an amazing program where they feed people every day in their kitchen. They also deliver homebound meals, and we just signed up to help deliver those meals.
Yeah.
So if you get a group of 4, basically you can have one day a month and you can help deliver. And so we just signed up to do that as well. And they also have these blessing boxes all over the county.
I've seen some of those, and they're not necessarily in Marshall, but
Everywhere. So, and those are important too. And those are a really easy, accessible way to give back. Even if you have 2 or 3 items and you see a box, just put it in there. It's
I think it
something
would
little.
a little bit easier for some people to some people that have cried. It's really hard for them to go and ask for help when they could just go there. That might be
Yeah. And then
easy
no
for them to
one's,
do.
seeing you. No one's.
Yeah,
And that's what's great about those boxes. You can just grab something you need and
sure.
take it home. Yeah.
Yeah, I really as I get older and older and older, I really want to be involved more in some giving back. My life is chaotic, as we were talking before the
I
podcast.
gotcha.
Lots of employees, and just always everything I do, I always start it and then I try to figure out how.
Yeah.
And so we've had our shop for 6 years almost now, and we started with 1/10 of 1% of what we needed.
Yeah.
So it's still always a week to week. So very busy there, and then with the with family and podcasting. But I got really burned. I guess I don't know. That was 10 years ago, or more, a lot more than that. Yeah, 15 years ago or so, I got burned really bad by a car that the radiator blew up and got third-degree
Oh
burns, and
gosh.
yeah, I had it was the hardest physical thing I had ever went through, and I went through some pretty hard physical
Yeah.
things, but it also mentally taxed me because I had never not worked, and I was on a couch for over 3 weeks that I couldn't move, I mean,
Yeah.
literally, and
Yeah.
it took me a long time to recover from that. Um, and then I always wanted to do something with, like, burn victims, especially kids, because I remember how my mind was laying on that couch 24 hours a day
It's
going,
awful. I've
you
been
start
there in a different way. Yeah.
you're like, you start wondering, "Is this ever gonna be," and
When will I be back to
back,
me?
yeah, and you're excuse me, I heard them say that you can 100% believe in something
Hmm.
and 100% not believe in something.
Yeah.
Your mind can play that trick on you. And I can't imagine what a kid would have to go through, to
Yeah.
deal with that. So I wanted to do that. And I was really glad when Jerry and Edie they reached out to me with you because
Oh, okay.
I wanted to, maybe this isn't a lot, but maybe this is a small start of a way to start giving,
Yeah.
helping,
Yeah.
helping people in the community. And in the world we live in right now, it's so divided. It's really hard. I can't
Yeah.
imagine some of the things you have to deal with
Yeah.
just trying to get simple things done
Yeah.
because I've seen so many times 2 different groups, and there'll be a good thing to do that they both want to do,
Yes.
but because this one wants to and this one wants to,
Yes.
they don't wanna be involved.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Uh, this group's, "I don't wanna be involved," or this one's insulting this. It's like,
Yeah.
why do so,
Yeah.
is that something you deal with ever on?
Um, I don't want to say that we don't deal with that, but I will say just from visiting all the different resources, I feel like some all the resources that we've talked to and that we help with, they all, support and see the greater good and see the common goal. And so as of right now, they're all focused on the common goal. But I will say they've each shared how in years past that wasn't always the case.
Right.
So maybe in years past when people were helping and maybe the director of some of these resources, and I'm sure that's town to town, state to state. Um, it almost, I don't want to say competition, but it almost was like, well, we're doing this, and so we're not going to. And what am seeing, and what I think is so great, again, so far, all of the groups that we're helping with, and trying to get the word out about and help them grow their volunteer base and their, the things that they need to help other people in the community, they all seem to be focused on that common goal, which is like us. At the end of the day, it's not about our group. It's not about Needline. It's not about God's Promise or Marcella's Kitchen or any of the other amazing resources that we have. Grace Garden, is a community garden that we love and help with, and we want to learn and grow more of those. But none of us are like kind of in competition with each. It's like we're all seeing the needs and we're all trying to meet those needs. And I think that's really great, and that's something we have to keep doing, is like we can't get um distracted by any of the differences or any of the opinions or any of the things, because at the end of the day it's about helping our neighbors, loving our neighbors, which includes everyone, and just improving our community, because we should all be unified in that respect to just make the world better than it is, or as I think the scouts say, like, make things better than you left them.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of our goal.
Yeah. I think back, I think it was maybe Jim Rohn. He's a big motivational speaker back, in the 80s and things along that line. And he would say, talking to corporations, he's like, the complaining about paying the taxes. And of course, you can say the taxes are, offset one way or the other, but you can't really complain about your taxes because the taxes are there and unfortunately they're misspent. But at the same time, they're there to help you. You need roads for your business to work. You need healthy people. And you even looking at it as a selfish way.
Yeah,
These are the things that I need to
that
make
we
the
utilize.
right. And another thing that I've seen, and I have been, I don't know what the right word is, not preaching, but definitely saying we have to have some kind of unity if we're going to keep this country going.
I agree.
I mean, it's almost like if, you know, the tree falls on someone's child and there's another person there that could help them lift the tree, but they're not the person that they're not the same type of person or they believe differently. They don't want that person even helping them, lift the tree off of it. It's that's what happens in my
Like the movie Crash. You ever seen that?
I haven't, but oh, I have to watch that one. Yeah. And then I always talked about like racism, and I'm like, in a way of this that uh, and I don't know how other to say this, but just like black babies change everything
Mhm.
because I've seen so many times in my generation, and I'm probably 2 generations above you. As I was growing up, these people that were extremely racist people, extremely racist, unbelievable, and also very religious in the fact of, no children out of wedlock. And then this young girl would get pregnant, and then here comes the baby, and it's a mixed colored baby, mixed race baby, and changed everything. That baby, next thing you know, they're carrying it through the aisles of the grocery store, just proud as a peacock. And I think if we could all maybe take that lesson and go, okay, there's something important out here that
Mhm.
we need to do that has nothing to do with the way you believe or the way they believe. It's important that it gets done.
Yeah.
And
And that's
that's
like
what I would hope.
keeping the focus on like what are we trying to do and what's the main goal
Yeah.
and you know keeping the focus on that of helping each other, helping your community because every community is going to have different opinions or voices or thoughts. But at the end, most people want better for their community. They want to see it grow, they want to see it thrive, they want it to be, everyone succeeding, everyone,
Yeah.
eating and having,
Mhm.
most basic needs. And so I think if we focus on that and we just try to help our communities and do all the good we can, then we have to keep that at the base of everything or else you get lost.
Yeah. You do very
Yeah.
easily, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure, it tends to be a situation where you have maybe in an emergency situation and you got a group of people that know each other and we got to get through this. And then you have someone step up, take leadership, and then another person lead. And it's like we got way more leaders than we need. We need some people to do. Yeah. So you've been doing this since April. Yeah. And have you had involvement in this kind of thing before that?
I haven't really. When I lived in North Carolina, I led what's called like a MOPS group. It's like an International Mothers of Preschoolers group, which is way different, but in the aspect of getting people together and being kind of a community for each other, which in that case was other mothers with young children and anybody that's had young children, it's crazy. Every different stage is crazy, but just being able to talk to each other and share, common goals and common things. So, in that aspect, I've kind of helped with things. I've volunteered in the past. And so, Caitlin and I are just two empaths
Yeah.
and two people that just saw a need in the community, especially the word advocacy. She named the group. And then I remember talking to her about how much I loved it. And I was like, advocacy? I was like, that's great. I was like, I feel like that's what we do is advocate for people and speak up for people. And that needs to continue. And I was like, I love that. And we need more of that. And it just kind of went from there. It just kind of grew. Um, so yeah, I don't know.
So since you've started, what are some of the let's say like the top three struggles you've had, or things that you had to overcome, or even things that you're continuing to work on?
I would say that especially right now, our struggles are, and they probably will be for a while, but that's okay, is us both being so busy and trying. We both want to like do it all. We both want to be everywhere. We want to be a part of everything. And so, like I was talking about, we share other events. So if we see an event, we're like, oh, I would love to attend that, or I'd like to go to that workshop, or I'd like to learn about this. And we're having to learn that we have to take baby steps and focus on the, what we can
Right,
do and what we can accomplish right now. And then later, when things slow down, revisit those groups or
right,
those, there's just so many things we want to do and so much we want to accomplish, but we're having to learn that we can't be everywhere at once. We
right.
don't have clones. She works two jobs. I work full time. I go to school full time. We have families.
which is full time.
We volunteer and we just do all that we can do. So I would say our time and like,
Time management kind of
yeah,
thing.
just trying to do everything, and we're slowly learning like we have to dial it back um, to be able to help,
Sure.
you know, successfully versus just spreading ourselves thin. And so we're working on that. And then financing, people have asked, like, oh, we're not a full nonprofit just yet. We're working on that. But there's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of loops and hoops and things to go through. So right now, basically, the flyers, the tables, the canopy, just anything and everything, even the donuts and coffee, you know, all of that we purchase. With
Oh,
the
yeah.
event coming up, I've purchased, I don't even know how much stuff online, but again, in the end, we feel it's worth it because we're making a difference and it's for a good reason. And so, with Community Day coming up, our food drive coming up, all these things, yes, we're busy and it's a little crazy, but afterwards, if we are feeding people, and we are getting the word out and maybe even getting one or two volunteers to help at some of these places, or with the garden, like, oh, I would love to have a garden here and it's easily accessible. Making those connections is important, and we feel like that's going to be worth it in the end.
Well, connections is something I do. One of my things I do best. And I have some people that I'd like to share with you afterward. I'll
Oh
give you their.
yeah, I'd love
We
that.
have a group called the Servants Inc., and
Okay.
they've been bringing in lots of uh, grants to help. They're a nonprofit, and they can maybe even help with that. What is it? 50C3
Yeah.
you have to file
Yeah.
for. Yeah, and then I have some other people that can help in that maybe too that would like to donate some
Absolutely.
time, possibly. Maybe even I have we had a lawyer on, Michael Byers, so I'm going to put that out there. So Michael kind of has to do it. He's a good friend of mine. He's helped me a lot of times.
Call and tell him.
Yeah, he's a busy. He does a lot of corporate corporate law, but he's a great guy. So we'll just throw his name out there, and he might be able to help with some of those
Yeah.
filings that you need to do, and kind of give you guidance there. Um, so what your primary mission, I guess, are you looking to when you say human rights?
Hmm.
That's pretty broad.
Oh,
And
it is.
I know we talk a lot about, or so far you've talked a lot about food, which is
Hmm.
we have to have clean water and food.
Yes.
I mean, those are necessities. That
Basic
is a
human
basic
needs.
human need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up extremely poor in a family where, yeah,
Mhm.
I can,
Yep.
I can remember just some really, really hard times. And I do remember some people reaching out. Those things do stand out in your
Yeah.
mind.
And anyone that helped,
Yeah.
I can
Or,
still remember people, and I think that's where I get a little personally perturbed whenever I see people say things like, "Oh, well, my taxes shouldn't go to buy a, bakery cake or a
yeah, some of
fattening food or whatever," and it's like you don't understand that person's, situation or their needs or whatever, and I was a kid that was,
yeah,
grew up with a mother who received food stamps and received stuff like that. Like that's where our birthday cakes came
yeah,
from. That's where our meals came from, even if it was a can of raviolis all the time. And so I think going through that,
mhm,
we see that need even more than some people who say never experienced that and they don't really understand. So it helps sometimes to share those things and
yeah.
to tell people those things.
When I give money to someone, I don't, and I'm not trying to say this to make myself be any kind of a, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else or have. But when I give to people, and I try to do it often, and I take a lot of flack for it. But even people just on the side of the road, I don't know.
Yeah.
You give them the money, and I'm not going to go. Well, they're going to go buy drugs. They're going. Well,
Yeah.
it's not my money no more. I
That's
take that money.
that's on them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gave the money is there, and then I think in that same respect, when we
Mhm.
say that, we should be going, okay, then how can we help that person
Yeah.
not go buy drugs
Yeah.
with that money?
Yeah.
How can we make that person? What do we need to
Mhm.
do? Is driving by and not giving them anything the answer, or should we be going valid question? Now what do we do?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he's going to take the money and probably go buy drugs or
Or
alcohol or
ask their
whatever.
situation, see if there's a
Yeah.
resource, see if
So
there's a number you can
do
give
you
them.
think, yeah, this is still a human being? This is a person. you know. And
Absolutely.
some people will stop, and I'm an animal lover, but people will stop in the middle of the road and move a turtle out of the
Yeah.
road, but they won't help another person. It's
Isn't
amazing.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's very odd when you see that how much people will talk about loving an animal or protecting their needs or their rights or,
Mhm. Sure.
and then not your fellow human because maybe you don't agree with their lifestyle or how they live or whatever. And so, yeah, I think that that's very interesting. And I've never understood that. And speaking of rescuing animals, I'm going to call out Caitlin here today. Part of what she has going on with also working her two jobs is she rescued in Paducah earlier, I think this morning, a dog. It was out in the middle of the road, covered in mud, about to get hit by a car. And she
Hey,
now has that dog and
wow.
has
Yeah.
given it a bath and is trying
It's on its,
to help it. So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's important, not to knock animal lovers at all because we
Not at
definitely are
all.
them too. But I think we have to care at least equally
Sure.
about every human. Period.
Yeah.
No explanations, no sidelines of well, only that. Just every human, at least, or if not more, is
Sure.
to an
Yeah.
animal.
Absolutely. My wife's a big animal lover.
Yeah.
She brings as well. I lose count sometimes. She's got a little baby pig now, so.
Oh,
But she had another. She's a streamer. She streams video games,
okay.
and she was on here. One of the like fifth or
Yeah.
sixth one we had, and it's weird. I never knew there was such going. It's still a little hard when I tell people, especially older generations, are like, "What does she do?" But she sits and plays a video game, and people watch her.
Yeah.
But she had this other pig she called Reba. We'll give Reba a shout out, and people loved this pig, and this pig was kind of big. And she loved that pig so much, and it unfortunately died. But
Mm,
yeah, she loves animals, probably maybe a little bit more than me. I
yeah.
don't know. You
We
know what I mean?
definitely do.
Yeah,
Yeah, my poor husband. It's like
yeah,
we don't need another animal, and then here
yeah.
we come with something else. We have a horse now, which
Well,
is
we did have a horse, but
a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, talking about your mission again. So we have the food. I've seen such an issue. It seems like with the mental health stability of people.
Yeah.
Has your organization considered things along that line and
We
how we
have.
can? I've had a therapist, a good friend of mine, on here twice. Um, I tell her it's just my free therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But she talks and she's had, I think she's had 6 or 7 foster children, and she was a foster child. And I can speak about this because she spoke openly about it. She wants people to know.
Amazing.
But
Yeah.
as when she was 12, I think her uncle raped her, and she was pregnant, and she went in and had a baby at 13. And now that baby is graduated high school last year, and she's so proud of him, and he's very much proud of her. But the amount of mental struggle that's out there in the world today, it's
It's.
amazing. And if you get an emergency, you break your arm, you can go to the emergency room and they'll treat you. You
Mm-hmm.
may get a bill and you may not be able to pay it, but
You can be treated. Yeah.
if you have a mental emergency, there's a really hard place to go other than like maybe suicide hotlines,
Yeah.
but before it gets to that,
Yeah.
have you guys thought about
We
something like that?
definitely have. There was actually an event today. It was a suicide prevention walk that we were going to be a part of. And so we just had a lot going on. And then there was another group that was
Sure.
kind of taking
Like
that
you said.
over. So we were fine with that. But we are looking into partnering for an event like that, in the future, like next year. So when we get together, whether it's at our coffee and donut meetings or um, anything else that we have, any events that we have, and we've had several, we always have not just resources in the community, but we do have a lot of like mental health resources, disability resources, food and clothing. I mean, if there's a resource, we're sharing it. At Community Day, we actually have Bridges Therapy, and they are a great group that have therapists and counselors and things like that. And so they're going to be at our Community Day. I think there is another one possibly, and I'm sorry, my memory is not the greatest. And so we incorporate that as well. Also, during our meetings that we have at the library, not just the coffee and donuts, but sometimes we'll have a more formal meeting, I guess you would say. And we do plan on having more of those mental health resources come. Lotus, I don't know if you've heard of them.
Oh, absolutely.
They are also going to be at Community Day, and they were at one of our meetings. So, anything to help families and children and adults. And even, one thing I learned after them coming to our meeting was not just children now going through that, but your friend, for instance, or anyone else that went through those experiences as a child but are now
Right.
grown, well, we still carry that with us. And
Sure.
so Lotus and Bridges and all of these places can still help with those, events that you had in your life and
Yeah.
help you sort through them. I think therapy is very important. I think and we need to change this, but there's a really big stigma with mental health.
Mhm.
And we need to fix that and address that. And like you said, I think mental health is just as important as physical health. To be physically fit, we go to the gym. We try to eat
Yeah.
healthy. We exercise. We take the vitamins. Like you said, we go to the doctor. It should be similar with mental health. Like
I agree.
it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to talk to someone and to figure some of these things out without going through, deep depression or anxiety or even becoming suicidal. Like you said, those are last ditch
Right.
efforts, even though there are, the 988 hotlines and things like that. But usually there's so many previous things up to that.
I was gonna say, aren't the, suicide hotlines facing a lot of defunding lately? Like, is that a
Yes.
big issue?
They are.
Yeah, I
They
can
are.
see that.
A lot of different things, including Feeding America and food banks and other things. A lot of that, the funding has decreased since mid January as well. And so you can even look online at Feeding America. I get emails from them all the time because I've donated, and they'll send you emails telling you, like, call this person or call that person because we're losing so much and we can't help as many. So yes, and it's the same with mental health. And it's like those are big issues. And some people don't realize, and part of the reason we exist and have this group, I think, in a way, is all of that relates to each other.
Right.
If we're not able to know where our next meal is coming from or how we're going to feed our kids and everything's increasing and that's a stressor, that contributes to the mental health. That it all is tied together
And
and we should
nutrition.
all be able to have those needs met,
Mm.
just any human, period. And when they're not, that is when we're going to see the increase. And then everybody is like, well, why do we have so many people that are mentally ill or so many people that are homeless or so many people that, well, we're all, you know,
Responsible.
yeah, we're
Yeah,
responsible to help with that. And not only that, but we're all honestly probably two or three situations away from being in those people's shoes. And that's what people don't realize
yeah,
is that, you know, we're no better than the person laying on a bench at night sleeping. And so many people, there's a lot of stigma with that too. Well, they should do this or they should do that. Well, you don't know how their life was before.
right.
And you don't know, how hard it is to access mental health, which would help them. Or maybe, you know, um, they lost a job. We're all just one event or two away from being in those
Right.
shoes. And I think we should all remember that. Um,
I agree. I think too, something you should look at. It can be easy to get discouraged helping people sometimes
yeah.
because people will take advantage of you
Yes.
and take advantage of the situation, and before
Hmm.
you know it, you've been. So it's easy to do that to happen, but even easier to then just say generalize everyone into that position. I would much rather be able to help someone that direly needed
Yeah.
it and then four others take advantage of me.
Absolutely.
So out of the five people that I tried to help, one got it, but
Yeah.
at least that one got
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah. I
so you could
agree.
almost take the idea that all the resources you used to try to help five people and it only
Hmm.
helped one. Well, that's what the resources took.
Yeah.
That's what that 5-person resources took. It took all that to help that get to that one person. I
Yeah.
think if we could maybe look at it that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
many people don't. They just take that. So many people focus on the very small percentages because the percentages are small of people that do take advantage. I'm not going to say that there's not a small
Yeah.
group of people that do take advantage of, say, having food stamps. But then when you look at all the people it helps, all the children it helps, and all the families, the elderly, I mean, so many people. And then it's not fair to say, okay, well, this many people are abusing that.
Sure.
So let's just
Yeah.
not have it for
Not help
anyone.
anyone. Right.
And you just kind of tilt your head like that. Just
Yeah.
that's not how we solve the problem.
Sure.
And just like you said with the person on the road, I've done the same thing. So many times I give whatever I have on me. And then I might even find out later, like, oh, well, that person wasn't homeless or they weren't jobless. And it's like, but
Yeah.
I did what I wanted to do.
Sure.
And that's between them and
Yeah.
Their higher powers that they believe in with what they do with that money.
Right.
But maybe it did buy them a meal. And I'll do that a lot too. Like I'll grab food and drinks and take
Sure.
it to
To
them
make
and then a
sure.
few dollars. But and that's always great too, especially if you don't have cash, because I don't have
Yeah.
cash all the
Not
time.
a
So
lot of
just
people
get
do.
them some food, a case of waters, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
especially if you are one of the people that are like, oh, I don't want to contribute to their problem. Well, then feed
I
them.
remember a while back I was at a gas station and this guy came up to me and said, "Hey, I need just so much money to get gas in my car so I can get back home or from like
Yeah.
Colorado or something." And I was thinking, okay, so if he scams me, I lose
Yeah.
$20. That's kind of a minor inconvenience for me. But if he's telling the truth and I don't give him $20 out of fear of being scammed, this person is stranded in a state completely different. That's not their home at all. That's not me trying to brag or anything. I'm just thinking of
Yeah.
what I have to lose compared to what they have to
Yeah.
lose is the situation that always gets me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And something that may be minor to you, like that $10 or $20, may be a huge difference to them. And then, like you said, when especially, whether you've grown up like we have or not, you have to take into consideration like that could make a big difference to them. And
Right.
that would be something they remember, like, oh, I remember stopping in this town and someone gave me gas. And that is something they'll carry with them and they'll remember. And then hopefully later on in life, kind of like us,
Pass it along.
you pass that on and you remember those people that helped you and were there for you. Or, when your card was declined and somebody bought you $10 worth of food, like you're going to remember that. And then you're
Sure.
hopefully going to pass that along one day, or at least that's how
Yeah.
I believe. So,
Well, and then so some of the challenges I could see maybe also getting the word out. Right.
yes.
That's really tough
Yeah.
in today's world. You think as many many even the multiple free platforms that you could do it with, it just gets lost
Yes.
sometimes. So getting the word out is
Yeah.
is essential. How do you guys do that? I know you said something about having maybe some social media.
Yes. Yeah. We have a Facebook page, Marshall County Human Rights and Advocacy, and we share a lot on there. Like I said, not just our events, but other people's events all over Western Kentucky. And so we try to share on there. And, we have more people on the page, I would say, than we did when we started in April or the beginning of May. But, that's another reason we were so grateful that you guys had us on today, because we really need help getting the word
Sure.
out, like letting people know that we're here and how can we help you. And, even if you're in a different county, but you're like, hey, I would like to do some things in our county. What are some things, so we have people asking us that. And we even, as we have more people and as we're not so busy, we want to help in other surrounding counties and communities. It would be amazing in, say, 5 to 10 years if there was a Callaway and McCracken and Marshall County Human Rights and
Right.
Advocacy.
Yeah.
And it just grew because I think people in any community can make a difference and can help. Um, and even as busy as we all are, which we all are,
Yeah.
a 1 hour lunch break of me going and volunteering or her having a half day off and going and volunteering, like those things add up and they make a difference.
Yeah.
So,
So getting that word out though, with social medias, have you considered adding on? Uh, me when I started this, and again, I'm a different generation, but I always try to be open minded.
hmm
Here's something, and this is a little off point, but I think it applies. If you look at the wealthy, I'm talking very very wealthy,
hmm
older, let's just say older men for now, the women at the same time. But I think you see the reason I say more of the men because that generation, the older generation,
hmm
they were more
yeah.
involved in business back then. So you didn't there. I mean, of course, there are both, but they will look the ones that stay successful and become the billionaires are the ones who look and say, okay, this is what I need to sell to my generation when they were there.
hmm
Now the next generation comes up. I don't understand that,
hmm
but that's what that generation wants.
Yeah.
So they have to say, I don't understand it, I don't want it, but I'm going to build it and sell it. And that's how they continue.
hmm
But
To
instead of
evolve.
going, well, that's stupid,
Yeah.
nobody's going to buy it. They don't need to understand. They just need to
hmm
know that there's a need and
Yeah.
understanding that the world changes. And going into this podcast is like, okay, was not prepared to get it to where I want it to be.
hmm
I was not prepared to what you had to do. Okay, well, we'll post on Facebook. Okay, great. What about Instagram? What about X? What about are you doing your YouTube shorts? Do you have your Facebook shorts? Do you have your TikTok?
Yeah.
Do you have, are you
There's so many
posting?
things.
Are you not only doing shorts on your YouTube channel? Are you posting on YouTube? Are you need your Spotify channel? Well, you haven't got an Apple channel yet.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's
It is
overwhelming.
just so much, but to be able to get it out there, I don't know
Mhm.
any other way right now.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I used to teach karate and martial arts, we just print up some flyers and hang them
Yeah,
up.
and we still are doing
You
that.
still have to, I
Yeah,
guess, yeah, to some degree, but,
yeah.
so you guys are, have you guys considered looking into maybe, and that's another thing, the amount of time it takes. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning doing
Yeah.
stuff for this podcast, just to get it out there and try to get that known. Have you guys considered
Yeah.
adding on some more social
We
media?
we do. So we have the Facebook page, we have Instagram, we have a TikTok. She's over the Facebook. I'm more over the Instagram and the TikTok. Um, I'm slacking a little bit with all my classes for school and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff and everything I have going on with the house. But we do try to share a lot on different platforms.
Mhm.
We don't have all of them,
Yeah.
but we have a few. And so we are trying to share on there, especially TikTok. I know a couple things I had shared on there sometime in May. And what we like to do is sometimes when people come to our events, we're like, how did you hear about us? How did you
Yeah.
see? And a couple of them were from TikTok.
Right.
So
That's
I do
awesome.
try to post. I'm slacking a little bit right now, but I do try to post on there or save the dates or events coming up, like the community day on the 27th from 4 to 7 at HH Levitt Park. And then the food drive is starting Monday, the 22nd to October 1st.
Mhm.
So for sure, those things will be up. We're going to try to spotlight the vendors that are going to be there, sponsors that we had that, were graciously donating the photo booth and the bounce houses and things like that. So we are trying to find more time. I think it's just trying to add hours and minutes in the
Right.
day that you don't have. So yes, it may be
It may
11, 12 at night where I'm in bed making posts, but you know,
Yeah. Hopefully, eventually, maybe you get those volunteers. You get someone who just
yes.
runs your social media platforms.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have we had started a company where we do going out to businesses and doing their social media for them.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to. Some people, you start a cookie company, you don't want to. It's like this
Yeah.
podcast. I just wanted to have this. I wanted to talk to people. I
Yeah.
thought it'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn, how to use OBS studios and all this
Yeah.
stuff, and continually. But having someone on board, that maybe a social media manager for
Yeah.
that situation,
Yeah.
I think that would be an easier snag too than somebody to maybe do the physical. Nobody wants to do the packing
Yes.
the boxes,
Yes. I know.
but if you had
Yeah.
someone maybe like that could help. In my opinion, that was one of the things that I don't know that there's any other way nowadays to get your name out there,
Yeah.
other than just word of mouth.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, if do you guys do any kind of fundraisers on your own yet? And again, I understand totally. You guys are starting in April,
Yes.
and you've got families and jobs and stuff.
Yes.
So there's a lot going on
Yeah.
there. But have you considered fundraising in any ways?
We've had people ask us about that and we haven't really done, you mean like for our group?
Yeah,
We
just
haven't done any
or
fundraising
just to
yet.
put some
Yeah.
bucks in the bank or
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
But I think I am going to open an account just for like I've been researching. And even though we're not a full nonprofit just yet, you can open an account in the group's name in
sure.
case people do want to donate, maybe with Venmo and PayPal. And so I am going to be working on that prior to the 27th and hopefully, next week. So in the middle of the food drive, because we do understand that, and I've even done this. Like I can send, the Exceptional Center $20 or the Need Line $20 on their PayPal very quickly and easily
Mhm.
without, leaving my home. And so we do want to open up those venues and, and help in that way as well, because yeah, that is important. And we have looked into that. We just haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we're
You're just getting
hoping. Yeah,
going. You're just getting going. Can't get it
we're
all done.
hoping to. Right now, it's
Sure.
just our funds that we've been utilizing. So.
Yeah, I had our last podcast guest, Rich Hoffman. We talked a little bit about. He does
Mhm.
UAP.
Mhm.
So he has a what's the name, Tristan? You remember of the organization? UAP
United Science
Coalition or something. Yeah. So it's basically a group of scientists that come together
Mhm.
instead of just UFO chasers. These are actual scientists, and they try to figure these things out scientifically.
Yeah.
So you have this big group of scientists, and I'm talking to him. I said, Rich, he would be talking about raising money
Mhm.
for what they're doing. And I would say, Rich, I think you need some marketing. You need
Mhm.
some marketing
Yeah.
because his group, you could tell when he would talk about raising money
Mhm.
and getting, paying for a trip to do whatever they do, he'd almost seem a little bit standoffish, like a little bit embarrassed to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Rich, we got to get you some money. You need
Yeah.
money. Unfortunately, the world we live in, and I tell my
That's
children this, if you
yeah.
want to save the rainforest, you need some money. If you
Yeah.
want to feed hungry people, you need funds, you need
Yeah.
money. So I think marketing, and I told him, I said, we need to get you some marketing. So we did a live event for him on Facebook, promote his, and it was just impromptu. We only had like 15 people in there,
Yeah.
but they were showing up, and we had one of my daughter's friends show up, and we started talking about we're going to build a spaceship out of my shop so we
Mhm.
can leave. We can get off of this earth, and we're going to donate all the proceeds to Rich. And she came on, and she's going to do the artwork. So, and when I said that jokingly, I'm like, but we could really kind of do that, kind of make, not a real ship,
Yes.
but build it
Let's have
for
something. Yeah.
fun. And, and that would be something people would engage
Yeah.
with.
Just yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times too that with people that are trying to help and do nonprofit, they're actually doing that. They feel like other people may be judging, asking when you ask for money. I'm not saying necessarily
Yeah.
you, but I've seen that
Yeah.
in the
And that's
past.
probably
People,
kind of how we feel.
yeah,
We're just like, oh, and I remember the last food drive, there was a couple people who um were trying to hand us money. And I get that there's so much red tape and so many things with nonprofit, and we're not fully there yet. But I remember Caitlin kind of being standoffish, and we both kind of are in that sense of like, oh, I feel bad, but then, and then I told her, and I was like, we can't, we can't turn that down. I was like, that's 10
yeah,
more
resources,
dollars of canned
resources.
goods
Yeah,
that we can take. And so we
sure.
just immediately, and I wrote it down and kept track. And there was only, I think, 2 cash donations that we had, but I had it written down and the dates that they were given. And then what we
Yeah,
used those funds for. Of course, I immediately went to the store and bought items, especially a lot of items that we sent to God's Promise were for homeless people, because she does have people that come in there and ask for food. But even if it's a canned good, or especially, certain foods, like, well, they don't have the means to heat that up or to
right.
refrigerate or to, and so, packs of tuna, packs of chicken, Vienna salt, any of those type of things that you would think like camping type food, or because there's people, and we don't see them everywhere, but they're in
Yeah,
even all around our county and y'all's and in tents and
I've had an employee start working for me while living in a tent.
yeah,
Yeah, and his entire family. So
yeah,
I see that.
it's a harsh reality.
I think
That's
at some point though, and I do believe, and these are things that I would be thinking is maybe it's starting as a for-profit organization until you get your 501(c)(3). And I'm not.
yeah,
Please don't take any of my advice, but I do
yeah,
know that of several community service programs are for-profit. And when I say for-profit, they do that because of the red tape to get to a nonprofit. So they're trying to do
mhm,
something as right as they can
mhm,
because the government's trying to prevent them from doing it.
yeah,
If
yeah,
if you could do a for profit and just keep your books and just you don't have to pay anybody
sure,
even, so maybe
yeah,
something to consider. And that would be something too, getting someone to volunteer, maybe
to help,
that actual advice. Say, hey, this is
yeah,
how you would want to do this.
yeah, and we're open to anything that will help people, because anything that would be donated just goes right back into the
Sure.
community. We've already been approached by a couple different places about doing a community garden
Mhm.
in the area, and so of course, we don't have the personal funds to buy all those raised beds, to buy the soil, to buy all the things that you need, and take care of it, and then water it and harvest it and all that. We've been doing that, helping with Grace Garden and learning a lot, and that's been great. But that would be an example of, if
Of
people did
something.
donate, where that would go. Well, we
Sure.
can put up these.
Yeah. So just like I was saying with Rich, we need to get you some marketing,
Yeah,
get you guys some money.
yeah, we'll have
Yeah.
to.
I think people shy off from that so
Yeah,
much. Is
we
it
all. Yeah,
it takes money though. It really does.
yeah,
And unfortunately, you can give from your own pocket for only so long. But if
yeah,
you want to make a really big reach, I think you got to bring
yeah.
it in somehow. So do you have like some of the success stories you've had so far?
Mhm.
I know you've talked about some of the food programs you
Mhm.
did and some of that. Can you tell me a little bit about some of those you've already accomplished?
Yeah, so like I was saying at our last food drive, which it was in the end of June, 4th of July, sometime around there. It was really hot, I remember, because we would sit out there on our lunch breaks and just
Yeah,
sweat and wait for people to
we
bring
had a
items. And we didn't have a lot of involvement, but we had some. And so that was, we didn't want to get discouraged. People were like, listen, when you're doing things like this, just keep doing it, whether it's a
sure.
handful of people or it's a big group of people. And so we've just continued that. But like I said, I think we donated close to 400 items during that round, plus around 75 family members or families worth of food bags as well. And so we just kind of wanted to grow that and to make that more successful. So we've had that event. We've had lots of meetings. We've held a few rallies trying to focus. I want to say, we're trying to be nonpartisan, but focusing more on, cuts that are happening and that were about to happen that we knew were going to happen, those kind of things. So we have had events focused on, of course, food insecurity and food stamps for families, and then healthcare, and then mental health, and then disability rights. So we're trying to focus those on, and there's so many, like you said,
Right.
human rights, that it's so broad. Like we could have an event every week and not cover them in a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And so, but we tried to just break it down to like, okay, these are the things that are about to be affected. How can we help? And then just sharing those statistics. Like I still, you might see in some of the pictures, and I'm happy to send those to you, is
Definitely. We want to post
we
those.
shared a lot of statistics just in our county, and in Western Kentucky, about how many people rely on those things, how many people rely on food stamps, how many people rely on Medicare and Medicaid, and so many different things that some people don't realize. Like,
Right.
and then when those rights are taken away, like just food stamps, for instance, what people also aren't realizing is everything's already high. Say you go to Walmart and you buy groceries and you're like, oh, this costs so much. Well, get ready,
Yeah.
because when food stamps decrease and people lose those benefits, guess who else
Right.
loses benefits? Those stores. So all of these
Everything goes up.
places that accept
Yeah.
EBT, including our grocery stores, um, the prices will then, they're not
That's
going to
it.
lose money.
No. Well,
They're
it's
all
not. Yeah.
about making,
They have to. Yeah.
billions of dollars, especially these large corporations. And so when they don't have those families
Getting that.
able to make
Sure.
those purchases, well, what's going to happen? Well, everyone else, we're all going to have those
To
increases
absorb it.
even more
Yeah.
to absorb that difference. And so all these people that might be complaining, well, I don't want to contribute to their unhealthy eating or their whatever they say, which is irrelevant. But
Yeah.
they're not realizing, well, your groceries that you already are upset about being expensive, just as we are,
Right.
they're going to increase. So we're taking away from people that need it,
Yeah.
and we're also going to
Still
be
pay.
hit with
We're
higher prices.
yeah.
So
We're gonna pay.
it's a lose for everyone, no matter if you're in the lowest income there is or the highest income.
Sure.
You're gonna
Right.
you're gonna be on the losing end of this. And I wish more people understood that and how that worked,
Right.
and how
Well,
that
and we'll make
affects
sure
everyone.
Tristan gets those stats from you.
Yeah.
He'll
Yeah.
reach out to you for that. So
Yeah,
we'll make sure we get that
absolutely.
out there. Yeah, I think
I
that's important.
kind of feel that a lot of people too, they might be aware of that, but in their mind, they're willing to take the hit to hurt someone else that they believe is in the wrong. Like I feel like that's a good majority, or not a majority, but a decent
Hmm.
chunk of people would be like, well, I'm willing to sacrifice my groceries to make sure the poor people can't afford an expensive dinner or cakes or whatever because they feel like it's
Yeah. And
that's
that's
I feel like
really
that's
sad.
it's very
Yeah,
depressing.
I would say that is that does happen. I don't know that. I would hope that that's
Yeah.
not prevalent, but I could see it. I could see that people would be, I'd rather throw this in the trash than give it to them. We see that
That's
often. We
so
see
sad
that.
to hear.
There's parts of our country that it is illegal for you to give food away in certain areas, like in parks.
It is. I
And
just shared that yesterday.
yeah,
That's funny you mentioned that.
they'll throw it. You can throw it. People will throw it in the trash, making sure someone's seen it, so they know that that they have to come get it out of the trash. What
Yeah.
kind of Now here's the situation, but you have to be the devil's advocate here a little bit.
Mhm.
A little bit. We can't say
Yeah.
that there's not a reason,
Yes,
and
and I do that because I understand
there's
some
gotta
of
be a
especially the health
backing.
aspects and the rules and
Well, if we go to, some of the situations out in, like, California, some of the counties that they have where it's just been kind of the towns have been overrun. So then you're like, "Okay, so what's the answer here?" You can't come in there and just forcibly remove people. You can't people it's a really hard topic
yeah,
to tackle. Um, I think it does boil down to a lot of the mental health issues and a lot of not just giving. What is the old thing? Give a man a fish, he eats for a day.
yeah,
He eats a fish.
yeah,
We need to teach some people to fish,
absolutely.
proverbially.
Yeah.
We need to give them the resources. There's a launching point that
Mhm.
we all have. Some of us jump
Absolutely.
off at a much higher launching point,
Yeah,
and to get to the top of the ladder is sometimes a really struggle,
yeah,
especially when some of the rungs on the bottom row is gone.
yeah.
We don't give them any resources. Is that something you guys look into as well as like
So
community
it's
outreach and
funny that you've mentioned that. When we were set up in Murray, we were I personally attend Murray Pride every year, and any events like that I can personally, I go to those events. But this was our first year being like having a table set up at Pride and talking about what we do. And so when we were talking about food insecurities and food needs and more sustainability, I am, again, I know we have all kinds of things we want to do, but we're trying to pace ourselves.
right?
But I'm also looking into food waste. And instead of, restaurants and places throwing out this food, how can we get that
Hmm.
and give it to those people in tents? How can we
Sure.
give that to people on the roadside that need those? And they're it's we don't have any in the area, but I've looked up and I cannot think of the website right now. But there's a website that I've been in contact with, and I told them, right now is really busy, but in the winter when things slow down, I would like to be like there's nowhere in the state of Kentucky that is
Right.
a part of this mission, which is again
Repurposing.
reducing food waste, yes, and redistributing it. And so that's where we would like to see again, we need more people than just the two of us or the five or six of us helping. And if we can gather people and get people interested, not just in Marshall, but in Callaway and Paducah, and we can all participate in things like this, we could redistribute. And instead of that food being tossed every
Sure.
day and wasted, we can get that food to people that need it.
Yeah.
But you are right. Every state's different, every area is different. But I did just share yesterday on my Facebook how I think it was in Florida, how they arrested someone for giving food
Mm.
to someone.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
I was blown away. And I was
Yeah.
just like, wait, that's not. And again, I do, like you said, play the devil's advocate. And it's like, okay, for health concerns and for this and for this. But there's got to be a workaround to where we can help people that are
Yeah.
struggling because you know, we're already such a wasteful society. And instead of, I sound
No.
older than my time when I say this,
No.
but they don't make things like they used to anymore.
Absolutely not.
The furniture, the stuff, the fridges, the stoves, some of those things our grandparents had our entire lives and they
Sure.
worked. But now we're such instead of reduce, reuse, recycle, which is what we were taught as kids, you don't hear that hardly anymore. But we're more of a use and toss and replace society.
And you were talking about being nonpartisan.
Hmm.
I'm as nonpartisan as they come. I just tell it as I see it. And,
Yes. Yeah.
like I've seen the current administration when our president got up and said, and, you know, some things that were done and were beneficial. He got up and was boasting about those, which is great. But he was boasting about during the first State of the Union. Then instead of reaching across to
Sorry.
the other side,
Yeah.
instead of reaching across, he would almost say, "See what we've done without you," instead of
Yeah.
saying, "See what we could do
Yeah.
together."
Yeah. And
You don't.
that's not,
These are things that everyone should applaud, and they would
yeah.
give this group, you know, because they didn't applaud. Is because they weren't reached across to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's going to be some things out there that none of us will always agree on.
Oh, yeah.
Through some
Always,
basic
and that's gonna
sure.
exist till the end of time,
But because of that doesn't mean we can't agree on one thing that we should
which
we
is the
do,
common good.
common good,
Yeah,
and find a way to make that happen. We
absolutely.
gotta get that.
Yeah,
And, the
yeah,
other governments are looking at us right now, and they see this weakness that we have because we're so divided.
yeah.
So divided.
And I
It's a
think that
heartbreaking.
that's purposeful. I think instead of wanting to unify people, the goal is to divide us
Yeah,
because I think, as many of us know from reading a history book or going to a history class or even watching, a movie with some sort of historical background, is that there's unity or there's no good numbers in unity. And when we
sure.
unify, there's a lot more of us, right, than there is of them. And I think, as we all know, that's not what they want. And
Well,
so
yeah.
it is the goal, sadly,
Yeah, well,
to divide us.
it's a military tactic, divide and conquer.
Yeah.
You divide your forces and you conquer them. That's the main reason in my opinion, we're not speaking German right now because Hitler divided his
Mhm.
forces and sent some of them to the north and some of them
Yeah.
down. And that's how we were able to overcome them. Divide and conquer is what you're seeing. And I never really looked at it like that until you said that. You can see that may be something. There's always an agenda.
There's
There's
always,
always some
and
hidden
that's no
agendas.
matter
Sure,
red, blue, who's in charge. There's
absolutely.
always an agenda. There's always
And there's always pawns.
other
There's
things at play. Yes.
people
But
being used without their knowledge.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think that's purposeful, and I think we need
absolutely.
to change that, and we need to change the narrative and fight back with we're all people, we're
Sure.
all human, period, and we all need to unify together, and we need to quit being distracted, and we need to quit being so,
Hateful.
hateful and spreading hate, and instead, just try to help people and
Yeah,
just try to unify, like I said, for the common good and focus on that. And because we're trying to be divided and distracted for a reason.
absolutely.
And
I
that's
agree.
always going to be,
Something that
the
we as
goal. And if we were all smart, we would all just unify
sure.
together and have that common goal. And yeah, that would be a
I,
lot better.
I've said it before. I think that we have to do this in reverse. Okay.
Hmm.
You and I may disagree on some things. And I say this and you say I disagree. Okay, well let's go back then. What about this one?
Yeah.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
And we reverse till we find that we get to the point
There
where
is,
everyone should
yeah.
have good food. And we both say, yeah.
Hmm.
So now then that's where we start.
Absolutely. Just
That's where
like
we start.
everyone should be
Don't
able to go to
start
the doctor if they're hurt.
right.
Everyone should be able to
Don't
have
start
access to.
on the most common issues that we
Mm,
disagree on
yeah.
because while we're disagreeing on that,
Yeah.
none of this other is
And
getting
if
taken
you
care
look
of.
at a lot of those, especially social issues where people disagree so much, as as odd as it says, I'm realizing even more just talking about it right now is like those issues aren't even issues that affect
The
you
majority. Yeah,
or me or the majority of
exactly.
us. They are literally issues or choices rather that people make in their own personal lives that you don't agree with.
Right.
Okay. You don't like
Right.
that show? Don't watch it. Doesn't
Absolutely.
have to get canceled. Just don't watch it. Don't
Yeah.
support it. Don't whatever. If you don't like, gay marriage, okay. Well, don't marry a
Don't
man or
marry a
marry a
dude.
woman. Like, what do you?
Yeah.
I and so
I get
and
that.
I think we look at those things as political issues, but they shouldn't be because those are lifestyle issues, in my opinion.
Right.
That's not something either side should
Yeah,
stand on. We
I
What we
agree
should
there.
stand on is, are humans being fed? Can humans go to the doctor? Can humans have access to mental health? Like at the end of the day, I don't care what country you come from, what language you speak, what your background is, what your race is, what your sexuality is, your age is. Are you human?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all at the end of
There's
the
where we
day that
start.
we should care about.
Let's start there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's three things. I think you're going to have basic human needs and things that are just we could all probably agree on.
Yeah.
You're going to have those things that you're talking about there that are going to be issues that, and again, being devil's advocate, I am not a person. I try to take lessons from my dad. He passed away last year, and if you've seen him, you just see this big loggerhead of a redneck, But he was the most non-judgmental person I've ever known. He didn't. He. It
That's
wasn't that he
amazing.
didn't care. He was just like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to go over here and do my thing now.
Yeah.
But so I try to take that lesson from him. But so you have those things there, that middle ground of people just disagree with lifestyles.
Mhm.
Okay, marriage, trans, homosexuality, all these things that fall into that line there.
Mhm.
And but then you have the other ones, and there's some pretty big ones out there. And when you start talking about abortions,
Mhm.
and you start talking about Palestine, Israel. These are
Mhm.
big
Yeah.
questions that people disagree on for certain reasons, and they believe them as, again, being a devil's advocate, not saying I on either side, but being a devil's advocate. These
Mhm.
people who are against abortion, they truly believe that these babies are being killed,
Mhm.
so they stand strong against that.
Mhm.
These people who are against Israel truly believe that there is something happening, a genocide happening. So those are some really big, hard
Yeah.
issues. We get so tangled up in those. But then when we get a little bit of extra time, we're over here on that middle ground,
Yeah.
homosexuality, transgender, stuff that really doesn't matter. It's personal
Personal
decisions,
choices
but we get hung up in there, and we never get down here
to
to the basic human
yeah.
needs.
Yeah.
Again, I think we just have to step back until we find a spot we agree on.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
let's tackle that
And
one.
start there.
Yeah, let's find a problem that you and I agree is a problem, and
Yeah.
we start figuring a solution out
Yeah, let's
together.
start on the common
And then,
ground.
and then it's going to make those other things so much easier because now we're not two different people. We've,
Yeah.
we've worked together, and
Yeah.
now maybe we would understand each other a little better on the next level, and
Yes.
especially on that final level
Yeah.
where we really have some differences. Maybe we would understand each
Yeah.
other a little better instead of going in and just saying, arguing, which gets you nowhere.
Yeah.
Let's have some reason.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the old movie 300. It talks about Leonidas,
Mhm.
big. And there's a scene where Leonidas is going to angrily go out, and I think it was even the guy that deceived him later, but he says, "Use your reason, Leonidas.
Mhm.
Use your reason." I tell my children that. And I
Yeah.
tell them, I said, "Use your reason, Leonidas, when you go into these situations. Don't just go into it so emotional and
Yeah.
bullish. What are you going to change? How are you?
Yeah. And
How,
it's hard not because we're all emotional creatures, even those
exactly.
who say they
Oh,
aren't. We all are. It's human nature.
yeah,
And even myself, I get emotional over things because it's just like
very passionate.
you
Yeah,
kind of want to wake people up and be like, just need you to care. I just want you to
yeah.
see and it's hard and it's frustrating. But again, I think we have to realize like no matter how much, we all have not in common. Again, even the people in other countries, even the people who
Absolutely, different religions.
can't understand a word of English, like, are they human? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that, that's why I keep saying like human
Right.
people, period. Like, I don't care. Just
Well,
love them. Just try to help them. Just understand that, again, there are some common grounds and there's some common needs and there's basic needs and we should all have,
yeah.
it.
I've often said, where's your backyard?
Hmm.
If my children are in my backyard and they get hurt, I'm going to go help them. If my
Hmm.
neighbor needs me to come help them with a problem,
Yeah.
I'll go over to help him. If the person in the county next to me, well then yeah, we start. But the further we get from our backyard, the
Hmm.
further we lose belief in humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if my backyard reality is
Hmm.
the entire earth, so
Yep.
where does the water make a difference? Does that
Hmm.
change humanity? I've always wondered that why
Yeah.
we are always, and I think I've seen because hearing people say things like, "Well, let's just go nuke the whole country." What are you saying? That's the most something that ignorant saying it in that way. And every child, every woman, every person working, just trying to live over there, they're exactly like we are. They're
Yes.
just trying
They're
to live.
just trying to have a life.
And the minority of that country is what we're those people that
Like they
have the
should.
bakeries have trying to sell their
Yeah. Yeah.
eggs.
Yeah.
They have no knowledge most of the
No,
time,
and
even
they
what's
can't
going
control
on.
that, just
They
like
have
we
no
can't
control over it.
control the stuff that's going
So
on.
yeah, I hate when
We
people.
just live here.
Sure, to some degree, you
Yeah.
can't be judged on that, and definitely can't be exterminated for that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
And that's
frustrating.
sad.
It is, and they may say that. A lot of people say things like that, but they've never been in a situation.
No.
It's something that they say. But
Yeah. And
it
then I
to
think
say that though propagates that
and
idea.
I think what's interesting when it comes to people that live in other countries that speak other languages that came here one way or another, which again, history book.
Yeah,
We all
we are
unless you are Native American, you are not from here originally, in this
sure.
country. And I think what I guess baffles me a little bit is like I didn't choose to be born as Laura,
Right.
as a white girl, in Western Kentucky. Like, I didn't choose that. It happened. Those people in other countries, they didn't choose to live in a country at war. They didn't choose to live in a country that isn't safe. Or, we
Mhm.
are all just born how we were and we didn't choose that. And so I think especially as an empath, it's really hard to ever see how people can say things like, "Oh, well, I don't care about what's going on over there. I
Take
just
care of
care
your
about here."
own.
Yeah, or I don't care about helping them, or I don't care if those people are getting bombed because and it's like that is very selfish and sad and truly not how I think we should be thinking about
That's
any human again, because those people didn't choose to be
no,
where they are and who they are
they didn't hit the
any
lottery.
more than we did.
I mean, they didn't hit the United States lottery.
Yeah.
The United States, if you were born in the United States, you hit the damn lottery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Our poorest are still, so we hit the lottery. They just didn't get the lottery ticket that
Yeah.
we had. As we have to look at it as Earth. And I don't know if you keep up with that UAP stuff, but Rich and I were talking about the asteroids, interstellar asteroids coming in, possibly being aliens in October. So it may change the world. The world changes. At that point, if that ever did happen, I think we would stop saying, Mexico and Europe and
Yeah.
all this. We'd be like, this is Earth. This is
The
our
world.
boundary.
Like
This
instead
is
of
our now.
USA, it would be Earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is our new boundary.
Yeah.
Those boundaries just get tangled up, and we get over squabbles over land and property and
Yeah.
people, and really this earth is a possession of every human being.
Absolutely. And in the end, I don't think that a lot of that matters. When we're gone, it doesn't matter what we look like, what language we speak, where we're from, any of that. If we're rich, if we're poor, like all of that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
We're
and
seeing
I believe that a human, when they're born, they have the right to walk anywhere they want. Of course, there's going to be certain
Yeah.
pretty issues, but I'm just saying we are. It's funny because I remember hearing that we're the only animal. Human beings are the only animal that has to pay to live. If you think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A deer can go wherever the hell he wants to
Yeah.
go. He's wherever he
Yeah.
wants. Now he might get shot,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's odd
yeah.
that we put so many boundaries on who
Mm-hmm.
is human and who is
Yeah.
not.
and you're seeing people get killed over imaginary lines.
Yeah.
That's what we value human life over. We value over
Lines,
human life.
Yeah.
lines that humanity put. Those
Yeah.
lines weren't really here, other than oceans and water.
They weren't. Yeah. We made those.
Yeah,
Our ancestors made those. And
yeah,
what we should do is learn from the things that happen. And that's why, another thing I shared recently was about a lot of history trying to be really erased. And it's like we shouldn't, history's there for a reason, the good, bad, and the ugly of it.
yeah,
Um, and we have to learn from that.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
we should learn, okay, well, how did this happen? Oh, well, these are the things that led up to that, which we should all maybe
Right.
take a history class right now. I just had one last semester, so there was a lot of times I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
similar to
So
this
what's
Red
going on right
Scare. If
now?
you read about the Red
Yeah.
Scare, there's a lot of things that are happening and it's so interesting. And what we should be doing is not letting history repeat itself. Like we should be
Right.
growing and changing and evolving and doing better.
Sure. I agree with you there.
And so,
I think we have to be careful though, because history is written by the victors.
yeah.
Those people who may have been rebels at one time might have been,
Mhm.
actually the ones that were fighting for the good.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
It's really hard to it's hard to, unless you really deep dive. But,
Yeah.
and then like you said, with the time, you could do that all day long. If I could go back to school and just sit there and somebody teach me stuff all day, I'd be all about it. But
Yeah.
it's not, it's hard to do.
You
Yeah.
can. It's just,
Well, it is, but what I'm saying is like with you have your job and your organization, and then your children and your husband and your home and your mother, father, whoever, all these people are involved with you.
school.
They're all areas, and it's hard to just take that
Yeah.
time for yourself,
Yeah. It
and
is.
then not feel selfish.
Yes.
What I
Yeah.
mean?
And just as most
And even
parents feel, we feel selfish if we
yeah,
give it for ourselves.
and even going to school, you can be made feel selfish for that when you're actually trying to make your life and other people's lives better
Yeah.
by being more educated. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
so, you want to take a real quick
Sure.
break? You
Yeah.
check your phone. I got to go to
Yeah.
the restroom,
I will
and then
do
we'll
that.
jump back in. I think we got about, well, we're getting close to 2, so yeah. So we'll get another.
Yeah. I mean,
Talking about
if you just
It's
want to talk
part
about
of it.
doing everything.
Well,
Yeah.
I think too we have to.
So if you see that hair sticking up.
So we both agree that you need financing and things like that. Well, I think one of the best ways, and I told this to Rich, and I tell this to everybody, I tell this to my kids. And I've got a 25-year-old, an 18-year-old, and an 8-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So maybe 10 years old. So I remarried someone much younger than me. So
Yeah.
but I tell them all the same things, that it's all about, the whole world is marketing and sales.
Yeah.
It ends up, if you want to have a date, you're gonna have to sell yourself. If you want to have,
I just hate that. I
if
don't
you,
want to use it as a, but I was talking about my
that just saying,
hair driving me crazy.
you know, but it's all ends up being sales, whether you're trying to, whatever you're trying to do, but being so relatable to people
Yeah.
sometimes is very important.
That's
I
true.
think.
Yeah.
I think that it's being able, I can
Yeah.
relate to that. Like you said,
Yeah.
you could relate to me when I told you the story of me being
Yeah.
blind.
Because that was so hard for me because I'm a doer and I don't ever sit
Yeah.
down. So when
Yeah.
I was, which it's twice now, I had
Oh,
two back to back. I was a surrogate and he just turned 3. So when I was a surrogate, I almost died actually after
wow.
that baby was born. And so couldn't do anything for like 6 to 8 weeks. So that was
That's
really
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the breast cancer, but I'm getting over
How long were you down with the breast cancer?
that. So about a week before, actually, just a few days ago this month, it was a year ago, right before my 38th birthday. It's Labor Day weekend last year. I felt a lump and I immediately was like, this is weird. This is.
Yeah.
And so I had my first mammogram before
Mm.
even it's time to.
Mhm.
And then the other odd thing was I just had, a checkup, a yearly checkup a few months prior to that, and nothing was felt. So it was just out of nowhere. And so went to the doctor, yeah, right over a year ago. And I remember doing the mammogram and she was like, "Oh, you're so young and you're healthy and your BMI is
Yeah.
good." And da da da. And she's like, "It's probably just a cyst." I was like, "Okay."
Great.
And then we did the ultrasound. And I remember as the girl finished up, I was like, "Yeah, she thinks it's just a cyst or something." I was like, "It's, probably fine, but I'm a worrier and I have anxiety." And I was like, "So do you mind to tell me what it looks like?" And she's like, "I'll let the doctor talk to you in a minute." And so
Yeah.
like
That's
basically as
yeah.
soon as she left the
It's
room, I
like,
was
ooh.
already crying. And then,
Yeah.
it was almost the year anniversary as well of losing my bonus dad to cancer. We took care of him and he lived with us the year prior. And so it was just a lot of emotions. I ended up
Yeah.
having the same doctor as him. Shout out to Dr. Claudino at Lourdes Cancer Center. He's
Okay.
my oncologist.
I know Doctor. I know of. So I met him once. I actually have a good friend, Doctor Skinner.
Okay, yes, they work
Yeah,
together, I
they
think.
work together. Yeah, I've seen him
Yeah,
yesterday. Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah. So I found out, and it was very invasive. And so I had to, instead of doing like a surgery or radiation, I had to go directly to what's called red devil chemo.
Oh wow. So that's
Yeah,
hard on you.
yeah, it was. It was not fun at all. I was pretty much
Imagine.
comatose for days after that. I had, I think, 4 red devil chemo treatments, and then I think it 14 or 16 Taxol treatments, and those were a breeze after the other.
It's odd the
So
choices they make on naming some of these things.
yeah,
It's like Red Devil.
yeah.
Like, okay, so we're gonna have this Red Devil.
Yeah,
It's
and I,
like,
I think it's
what
a
worse of
way
a
different
name?
word that I can't pronounce, but
Yeah,
that's like the common
the common
term, and I
term.
know it's
Yeah,
a
they were
weird
talking
term,
about
but
that with UAPs. They had a, what was it? Well, no, they had a Reaper drone and it shot a Hellfire missile at this UAP. I'm like, good lord, why do they come up with
yeah,
these? Yeah,
where do we have these
definitely.
names? Yeah,
You don't want nothing like that shot at you, but
but I guess it was named that because it's the worst
it's
one. It's the
repeat. They're
strongest
trying to
one.
prepare
Yeah,
you.
like
Yeah,
lets you know.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping this is always one of those questions. I hope everything's going good now.
it is.
You
Yeah,
look great. I mean, you look healthy. And
thank you. Yeah, I
mm,
just saw my oncologist and one of my surgeons recently, and they said that everything's good, so I don't have to go back until December. I am going to have one small minor surgery, probably this fall, sometime in October or November.
okay, well, I'm glad
That
for
should
you.
be good
That's
to go.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it
The
was.
cancer.
It was a lot.
Why
It's been
the
a rough
hell?
year.
Why the hell do we still have this cancer? Why can't I just do not understand it? It is so horrible.
All
I've
the
seen in the
technology.
area we live in. I'm gonna say that I've talked to some people who were like, don't tell nobody this, but
Mm-hmm.
there were these studies done. People that are in the know, um, and they're like, this area is just eat up with it.
It
Just
is.
so
There's
awful.
maps of cancer
Hot
rates
spots,
all
hot
over,
spots.
and
Yeah,
we are a hot spot.
Yeah, my son living in Calvert, I worry about
Mhm.
the chemical plants over there. I spent some time out at USAC as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, we
and
live right by Calvert, so
yeah. So I spent a lot of time in USAC, and there's if you go back in the history of USAC and when the beginning there in the Cold War era, and
mhm.
they were doing some shady stuff a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's much better now because of regulations, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's why we gotta have those regulations
we
in
need,
place to
yeah,
keep the water clean and keep the
absolutely.
air clean, and if we cut back
It's
on those and fire those people, then we're less safe than we already are.
But then the big businesses make a little bit less money. We gotta think about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
well, it's easy to say that.
Yeah.
It's easy, but being the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of I'm not going to say overregulation because I definitely think, I'm a firm believer that we're putting way too much junk, into our water systems and into our air.
Yeah.
We have to be better stewards of our land,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you can't immediately change anything. It's going to have to be gradual, or you'll put such a stress on the economy.
Yeah.
Say, okay, you go in and we're like, okay,
Yeah.
we
But
found this and
baby
this and this.
steps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta start off here. All right, start
Mhm.
reducing this back. What are some of the options we can do look forward in the future?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at some of the opportunities we have in technology to help us,
Yeah.
that way. The world's really hard,
I
isn't it?
know. And
It
we
can
only
be
get
really,
one. That's what people forget,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. For now, we may have to.
Well, yeah.
When my shop, we Hooligan Custom builds our rocket ship, we might find another one.
It's just like we're supposed to leave things better than we found it. We're supposed to,
Absolutely,
not
it's
litter and not, yeah,
yeah. Makes you want to go back and punch your dad in the face for throwing something out the window,
or whatever.
when they
Yeah,
come
I saw
down.
somebody litter in front of me the other day on
It's
the way home, and I was
Isn't it so
so
strange?
upset. I
I
was
don't know.
honking like, "What? I just saw
I'm
you
not going to
throw
put
all
you in the
that."
same age group as me, but it is really strange for things that I see now that people are so. Okay, so I have an 8-year-old son. I have a Mustang. Okay,
Mhm.
when I put my 8-year-old son in the front seat, the airbag system shuts off.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's in a seat thing.
Mhm.
Okay, he's strapped down. He's safe. I believe he's safer in a Mustang front seat. I know cars
Yeah.
than he would be in the back seat because if anything happened, it'd be so hard to get him out.
Mhm.
I pull up to a drive-through at the pharmacy, and I can see the lady looking over at him and giving me the the stink eye.
Because
I'm
he's
like,
little. Yeah.
well, he's not even. I mean, he's 8, and he's in
Yeah.
a car seat, but that's the best place for him. And I think back when I was a kid, I rode in the back.
We
There was no
barely
seat
had
belts.
seatbelts. Yeah.
No, I don't even
Yeah.
remember ever wearing a seatbelt. And the windows rolled up, and smoking cigarettes. The couldn't see, and
Yeah.
I'm envious though because I had really, really bad allergies, and then I attuned some of that to that.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
mind people smoking. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's again, but it's one of those really hard things for me to be around so
But when you're
much.
like smoking in a vehicle with your kid,
With the windows rolled up,
yeah,
yeah.
and I
But
was
you would not see that nowadays. You
every now
might,
and then you
yeah.
see it, yeah.
And when
And
you
I'm
do, it's
probably the
like,
one giving that stink eye when I see that, like,
yeah, it's
shouldn't
like,
you be
oh, what's
doing
going
that?
on over there? Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't see it like there's so many things like that that's
yeah.
changed and we don't
But
realize
some
it.
of it, I won't say every single bit of it, like the reducing and reusing instead of throwing away, that's changed and that's not better. But a lot of things, safety wise and stuff, it's like, well, when you know better, do better. You
Absolutely,
know,
yeah, sure,
the
yeah. We got
seatbelts
to
and
grow.
the baby car seats from the 80s compared to
Yeah. Well, even the cars,
so crazy.
you'll hear people, and I've done, that's what I want to think I've done my entire life. They'll talk about the classic cars, which we built a lot of them.
Yeah.
Really, we ended up we use modern stuff. We put new suspension under them. So,
Oh, cool.
but the people, oh, they make them like they used to. And I'm like, yeah, death traps with,
Yeah.
to drive, get 75,000 miles or wore out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't make them like that
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
And they think because of the weight and the material, like the frame of a car, an older car, it has 2 frame rails,
Hmm.
and they think that's strong. Well, what that tends to happen is those frame rails are so strong that they shove into the compartment of the car when they wreck.
Mm.
Whereas modern cars are designed, the cockpit of the car is where all your high strength steel is surrounding you, and all those other areas are designed to
Yeah.
collapse, so
Purpose.
they absorb the energy instead
Yeah.
of distributing it through the car. They absorb it where they're
Yeah.
at. So yeah, they don't build them like they used to.
Yeah.
Much safer,
Yeah.
like mine. So, how did we get off on all
I don't
this?
know.
Wow, where are we going here? Okay, so we talked about some of the the stories you have. So what are some of the things you're looking toward going forward with your organization?
So much. Like we were talking about the reduce, reuse,
Mm,
recycle type things. Even when it comes to gardening, we were talking about trying to teach people at these meetings as we go on about like meal prep and budgeting and all kinds of things that people suggest or we think might be helpful that are life skills. Even changing a
that's so
tire, oil
important.
change, there's a lot of life skills that people aren't taught and they don't know. We did even talk about having a YouTube channel at some point where we can have people come on and
Let's
like
go.
teach us things so that we can teach others. But there's so many things. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just, it's
you
all
gotta.
we're always adding things, but I would say our focus right now is food scarcity, having community gardens, even bringing back, victory type gardens like they had in the past, like in your yard, even if you have a small yard, we can all grow something, right? And like you talked about unity, like in your neighborhood, if everyone just picked one thing to grow, but then
Sure.
you all exchanged, well, then you have 10 different vegetables or 10 different things. And like Grace Garden, one thing I love about them is they grow the food and then they harvest it. And then just this year, they got a grant to have like a cooler, like a refrigerator cooler type thing. And anytime at all, you can go and get that out of the cooler.
That's
So if
awesome.
you need cucumbers or squash or tomatoes or whatever's in there, um, you can go and do that. And then our idea would be, of course, as we try to over time, like you talked about, what are some of our goals? Like if we can get involved in redistributing some of that food and we have more places like Grace Garden that have especially a fridge or even just an area where people can go and grab food, um, we can distribute that food to all these locations. And then if someone needs something, they can just go and get it
Yeah. Yeah.
without, like you said, having to go through the hoops and have to
Yeah.
do the things. And a lot of these places, even if people think there are a lot of hoops, a lot of these places it's not um as many hoops as maybe they would think. So I would encourage people, even if you are prideful, even if you don't want to be like, well, I don't want to go to that food bank because there's people struggling more than me.
More
Well,
than
there's
me.
always going to be someone struggling more. But if you're struggling, even if you just have, like I talked about this past year with breast cancer, whatever, financially, the last, I'll say 13 months, I mean, it was hard.
I
It
can
was hard
imagine.
going to the appointments, missing work, having to be here, there, feeling unwell, just all of it together was a big, big, big strain, not just physically, but emotionally, financially. And and like I said, some of us may be doing okay, but maybe during 6 months, you or your family is going through a crisis. Maybe you're taking care of an elderly parent. Maybe you were injured and you can't work. So there's only one income instead of two. Like, don't let that pride or your thought of like, well, there's people worse than me stop you from utilizing those resources. And again, maybe once you're back on your feet, then you can go and donate, year or two later. Maybe that same food
Absolutely.
food bank you had to go to, you can now be like, oh well, once a month I'm gonna throw them $20 on their PayPal or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or donate your time. Come
Yeah,
out and help
anything,
out.
anything at all. So I just want to encourage people to utilize those. But as far as the bigger plan, there's so many things. Community gardens, more self sustainability in the community. Like I said, teaching people just basic life skills,
Yeah. That basic
all
life
of it.
skills one, I think that's an important one. There is a what is it? Starvation crisis in the United States, and I listen to lots of podcasts, and they were talking about this the other day, and it's not as much as you would think the lack of food. It's the types of food we're eating, and you and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
discussed this when we had pizza
yeah,
and soda, you know.
yeah,
But on occasion that's okay. But teaching people
hmm
how to cook.
yeah.
A friend of mine, Chip Puller, he owns Patty's Restaurant. He was
Okay.
on about him and Michael was on here. They're co-owners of Patty's, and they talked about it. They're really great people and trying to help. They put a lot back into community too. But when Chip was telling me when he was young, he lived in California, and he used to go around helping mentally handicapped people learn how to cook.
Yeah,
Just simple things
yeah.
that they were able to take care of themselves, and I think that's important. People don't know how to cook.
Very important.
They don't know how. And the thing with cooking is, some of that disposable root stuff that we have, you
Hmm
won't have when you cook at home. And on top of that, you're able to. I've always been a big fan until my older one started leaving, we'd always had at least 3 to 4 meals or maybe more a week at the kitchen table, phones down, everybody off,
Together.
home
Yeah.
cooked food, and it's not as hard as people think. I
Yeah.
own 2 restaurants. I've
Yeah.
worked in restaurants. It's not as hard as people think to go and actually make a home cooked meal.
Mhm.
We've dabbled with the idea of a YouTube channel for that as
Mhm.
well, how to quick dad meals or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's a big need,
Yeah. It is.
because it's so much easier to go. They recommend, if I'm not mistaken, that if you want to shop correctly in the grocery, you only on the outer edges.
Mhm.
That's where all your
Yeah.
produces
No.
are, your fresh items. You go inside, you got all these chemical
Mhm.
preservatives, and people are living on that. And I'm
Yeah.
not against it at all
Yeah.
as far as having a soda. It's just anything in moderation.
Yeah.
You got to have
Absolutely.
moderation. So that's a
Yeah.
great I hope that you're able to pull
Yeah.
that off
And
and
we would
start doing
really
that.
like to do more things like that, like the meal prepping, the things like that. And anyone out there that sees this or hears this and is like, oh, I could teach people how to meal prep. I could teach people how to cook, and
Something
we
about
are
nutrition. Yeah.
going to incorporate that a lot and pull again some of those resources that we know and have
Right.
people come teach that. And I think it is important. My sister came to live with me, and we got custody of her. Let's see, how much? 21, probably about 4.5 years ago. And she recently just moved out on her own. And I'm still, texting her, well, how do you make this chicken? Well, how do you make this? And a lot of stuff I honestly taught myself. And then now, like you said, with technology, it's way different than like when I was 18 and I moved out on my 18th birthday. Um, I couldn't just Google how to make something. I had to like
Right.
use an old cookbook that someone gave
Yeah,
me
and you're
or
looking
try to
through it. You got the
or look at the
pages stuck
directions
together.
on the back of the book. But now with technology, you can
Yeah.
literally search, on Pinterest, Google, whatever you want of how to make something. But I think it is different when you're shown it. And
No,
so
much. Yeah.
if someone's teaching you even just the basics, like, okay,
Sure.
this is how you turn your meat over and you make sure it's cooked. This is what the temperature should be. And there's not a lot of that. Like,
Not at all.
yeah,
There's very little in schools anymore. You used to have a home ec, but that was
yeah,
so catered to, just one
yeah,
group of people. A
yeah.
lot of the younger boys wouldn't want to go in
Mhm.
there and things
Yeah,
like
I
that.
took home ec classes. I think, if I'm not mistaken, at Marshall County, they still have the culinary class where you
Mm.
learn to cook. Funny story, my husband and I, that's a class we had together.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we weren't
cool.
dating at the time. But now when we're in the kitchen, I like to remind him. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
we took the cooking class together. Now we're
yeah,
cooking in the kitchen together. And
that's
that's
cool.
a lot of things, even if your parents cooked at home or if they didn't, as much, that's a lot of things you have to learn. And it's, like
It
any life
is.
skill, if someone can just teach you and then you learn that and then you pass that
Sure.
along to someone else, well, then we're all just teaching
And also having
everyone.
that opportunity to be involved with each other,
Yeah.
sitting down, and it doesn't. I'm not expecting my kids to sit and listen to me talk about podcasts
Yeah.
or anything like that. To a certain degree, but 15, 20 minutes a day with your family, with kids, it gives you a
Such a
good
difference.
connection there. And I think it's important for them to learn, to have that going forward. So many, and I'm not one to say I'm the best parent in the world. I started with a 25-year-old and an 18-year-old, and now I've got an 8-year-old. I think I might have it getting
Right.
it
By
right.
this point,
I might get this one right, because the other two
because
are,
like everything in life, you learn
yeah.
as
Why
you
didn't you do?
go and
Yeah,
experience it.
but
Yeah.
the older you get too, you have more time, and you go,
Yeah.
well, you don't need as much of your own personal time, I guess. I enjoy.
Yeah.
My youngest son was with me before. I don't know if he was probably gone when you got here,
Hmm.
and I enjoy just hanging with him.
Yeah.
I'm like, he went with his, what he calls her, Gigi, but I'm like, well, you just hang out with me today. Just
Yeah.
come hang out with me and we'll go have some fun. And
Yeah.
that dude over there, when he was 6, we were
Yeah.
inseparable.
Yeah.
And then 16, he wouldn't have anything to do
Well, I
with
was
me.
just going to say, yeah, hold on to that because mine are
Yeah,
13 and 15 this year. And
yeah.
yeah, I just,
It
yeah.
comes full circle. Usually they'll come back around sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love my children.
I call him at 3 o'clock at night a lot because something's going wrong. I have a possum in my house or something. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, he calls
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
He's the weirdest thing. Their generation, I'm like, just text. They call me all the time. They're just calling me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because when I see the call, if
Hmm.
one of my kids called right now, I'd say, "Excuse me,"
Yeah.
because if they're calling me, I'm afraid there's an
You think it's
emergency.
important. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's always something good. I'm
Yeah.
like, can you just text me that?
Yeah.
But
Mine do both. They'll text me, and then if
yeah.
I don't answer, then they'll call me. And it's
So
usually.
talking about that. And I know we're getting in there, but we got still a little bit of time. What about this new generation? Are you how are you seeing them? Are you seeing some involvement there, or have
We
you some reach out
we
to them?
are I would honestly truly like to have more involvement from younger people. Um and I think just like we talk about how busy we are, like I'm extremely busy. Caitlin's extremely busy. We're all busy. Even when you talked about food, like, and if you have kids in sports or you're running here and there, it is hard to allocate your time. But I think we make time for the things that we care about. And I would just encourage people, especially young people, if you're busy, if you're working, if you're going to college, all the things that I completely relate to and understand, just allocate, 2 or 3 hours once a month, one day a
Sure,
month, and just say, okay, on the third Thursday every month or the whatever, I'm gonna
I'm going
I'm
to
gonna
help with
help.
this.
And that can
And
make a difference, a huge
yeah,
difference.
I worked. I tend to you refer to business and stuff like that a lot in sales, but I worked for an extremely back in the day when car sales, when they were hardcore car sales.
Hmm.
You come in, you're buying a car if you got in there. But one time he looked at my hand. He said, "Let me see your hands." And I said, "Like that." He's this, and I have to give you a little context here. He was slick bald, perfect tan, beautiful white teeth, two 3 carat diamond earrings in both ears. He was a diamond wholesaler before he did this. He was a general manager, and in Paducah, Kentucky, 20 some years ago. So he didn't really fit the
Yeah.
Armani suit. A beautiful man,
Yeah.
and I don't think he's ever touched a shovel in his life. Great guy though. I loved him to death. But he's, "Let me see your hands, Joe." So I show him my hands, and he's like, "You're never going to make enough money with those hands." You know, 'cause you can't. And what he was saying was, you're going to have to bring people
Yeah.
in to get where you want. And I think that's where we need for organizations like you. You got to have the people,
Yeah.
because you keep saying the time and being able to allocate that
Yeah.
time. But if you had more hands,
Yeah.
and like we were talking about with the social media, that younger generation could be something that could be a part that they could take on something like that for you, and it would be something exciting for them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
We would
so.
love that, just to have, like I said, even if it's somebody once a month volunteering,
Yeah, or
if
somebody
it's
just
however often, how in any
some
capacity, helping is helping.
yeah, some young person just sitting there making content for one of your platforms and
Yeah.
sending it to you, checking it with you, and then posting it
Yeah.
and getting. They recommend Gary Vanderchuck. He's VaynerMedia, and he's huge. I mean, multi hundreds of millions of dollars. You have to be seen, especially only using the free part of the platform.
Hmm.
At minimum 3 pieces of content per day,
Yeah.
so to get out there. But you had someone, a younger
Yeah.
generation, doing that for you. That
Yeah.
would be, and it would be something they would enjoy doing too.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
No, we're open to taking, any ideas like that, any volunteers, any help, any
Sure.
resources, and if there's resources that we don't know of, like, we're still finding places and making lists and adding to our list to distribute that to others. And again, not just in Marshall, but in the surrounding counties.
I was going to go back to something you were saying about how if everybody in a community would donate or grow one item.
Mhm.
So, Mark does tomatoes,
Mhm.
and and then this person does corn. And we all did that, and then we could come together and share.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that stone soup story. I don't know if you're familiar with
Oh,
it.
yeah, I haven't heard that
So,
yours, but yeah.
yeah, the guy comes to this town, and he's down and out, and he offers the township. He says, "I can make a soup for you out of a rock, out of a stone." And I'm butchering it a little bit, but
Yeah.
and they're like, "No, you can't." He says, "Oh yeah, so all I need is a pot and some water." So they gave him a pot, gave him a spot to work, and he gets it going, and he gets out and tastes it. And they're like, "Well, how is it?" He's, "Oh, it's pretty good. It'd be a lot better if it had a little potatoes in it." Well, Mark
Yeah.
has some potatoes he ain't using. Mark, bring those potatoes. And oh yeah, it's getting even better. And he ended up building this beautiful soup from this whole
Yeah.
community that had the resources the whole time
Yeah.
to feed the entire
Yeah.
community. They were starving one another because they only wouldn't share the resources.
Yeah.
So
And then so that's again that
yeah,
coming together.
bringing that
Yeah.
together and sharing those resources and sharing that knowledge again, teaching the people how to do things.
Yeah.
I get confused. I had people come into my shop, and they're working for younger guys. They're working for me, and I'm like, "Oh, just pull that hub off and knock that stud out, and then put the hub back on. It should be fine." And they're like, "What?" you know, they're starting to pull a mirror off or
Yeah.
something. I'm like, "No, no." it surprises me sometimes that they're what I would consider common sense.
Mhm.
But then I have to go back and go, "Oh, no, someone taught me that."
Yeah.
That's not common sense.
Yeah.
It's just common to me, but it's not
Yes.
common
Yeah,
sense.
not
So,
everyone knows that, and we
yeah.
all have those different
Yeah,
knowledge or lack
and we're
thereof. We're
and
homeowners and we have had to YouTube a lot and look up
yeah,
a lot and learn things. And my I try to get him to teach me
yeah, and
some things. It's
we
tough
just
if you don't know of those
but
things.
and then others expect you to know it.
Yeah,
They're like, "Oh, you don't know that? Well, this is how you do it." If
yeah,
we go into it that way, I think we
yeah.
could, yeah, we judge the, younger generations a lot. My generation does, especially. They're
Yes,
like, "They're lazy, they're this
there.
or
Yeah,
that," but I often take up for them. 'em. I'm
yeah,
like, "They're on their phones all the time." Well, who do you ask when your phone's broken?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. They're on their phones all well, they can't live their lives without the phones now.
yeah,
Phones are integrated into their lives. They have to have this,
yeah.
So, I sometimes try to stand up for them a little bit. So, but talking about technology, have you, and I know this is one of those things that kinda gets a little backlash. My 2, older, uh, children are very artistic
Uh huh.
and maybe a little autistic too. Both both together makes for pretty cool kids. However,
Yes.
Very
they
both,
are
yeah.
they're very against, AI coming involved, but we
Hmm.
see such a potential for something like AI here.
Yeah.
This is where I think it could be a tool, a resource to help.
Yeah.
Um, I see opportunities for the outreach and how I can talk to AI and I use it for different things, not as much because I know I'll get back, I'll get
Hmm.
in trouble. But using it as a tool to say, hey, what are some of the opportunities for me to grow my podcast?
Yeah.
And I'll be surprised at
What it
where to
says.
get. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that one.
Yeah.
Have you considered anything like that yet? Or
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of on the fence about AI personally. I see the good. Like I see how to utilize it and I've used it for things or whatever. And and I think that it can be helpful like any tool, but again, I think not to fully rely on it or to I just don't want to see it evolve into something, that makes things less authentic. I think we're living in a time where already we hear like, oh, that's fake. Oh, that's fake. Oh, that's fake. When a lot of it's not. They're just saying it's fake.
right,
And so I think we have to be careful with not relying on it so much that we lose sight of what's real and what's not.
mm,
Also, I know that these buildings where AI is in, they're just, basically big giant computers. And if you think of just your desktop or your computer and how much heat it produces and puts out and the resources it needs, just like
yeah,
the water we need to drink, well, it needs that water. And so I have views on
environmental issues.
yeah, the environment again there of like, okay, well, we already we already need some of these resources and I'm worried about some of
Only
these resources for humans. Like, do we
as,
want to send some of those resources we need for humanity to a computer that we're going to
as
rely on? So I see both sides. I think there's a lot of gray areas with stuff like that. It's not just good or bad. It's kind of in the middle. So I don't know. I just don't want to see it evolve into something, where we're
that
replacing
takes our
people.
humanity. Yeah,
Yeah, like there's even drive-throughs, you go to and one I visited recently was just
I had one. Yeah,
full robot and it drove me crazy. And it's just like, just let me talk to a human. Just like when we call those 1-800 numbers, right? Like we don't
yeah,
want to talk to a robot. We're all going customer service, real
yeah.
person, customer service, because it's like we need that person
They can
that is a human that we
understand.
can explain what we need help with
Yeah, they
and
understand more
they'll
than the
know.
words. They
So I
understand where we're
just
coming
don't
from.
want it to become like it is a tool that we can use and that it's good and helpful and it can help us. And so I think that it's not all bad. I
Mhm.
think we just have to be careful with it because I don't want to see more humans replaced with
Yeah,
AI and robots and it's just a slippery slope
sure
and
it
I
is.
think we just got to be careful, you know,
I
with
think you've
how we
had
use it.
probably one of the best, most valid points that I've heard. And I've heard it talked about in different times, but you made a point of talking about it, that we're taking resources away from humanity. They are currently building nuclear power plants for just AI.
I know.
So
Yeah.
that's a lot of resources there. You're right there.
Yeah.
But then I have to go back and think where you were talking about cancer. These AI agents are able to detect cancer on a level that the humans aren't at this
Mhm.
point. So that's an amazing thing. And
Yeah.
but then you go back and you're like, well, we're going to lose so many jobs, but
Yeah.
will this has happened in the past, but not to this degree.
Yeah.
But I do see it being something. You said something also. You said using it for good, and I think if we hesitate to use it because we're afraid that it could be bad,
Mhm.
but we hesitate to use it for good, then
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be bad
Yeah.
if we don't capitalize on it
Yeah.
and sway it to the way
Yeah,
we want it to
absolutely.
go. So
And I think if
yeah,
we just keep that in mind and not become so self-reliant on, it's just like when you think about surgeries and things like, yeah, there's robotic machines now that can help get into little areas to
yeah,
do incisions and to do things that a doctor just our hands
that
physically
aren't
aren't
there
able to
yet.
do. And that's great. But what's even better is having that incorporated with the surgeon and the team
Sure.
of nurses and staff and um, performing those surgeries versus just sending a person in a room and be like, nah, that robot's going to complete that
Yeah.
surgery. Like, I think we can coexist and we can do
Yeah.
good things, but I think we just can't lose sight and let it replace people.
Yeah. And it is
So we
definitely
have to be careful with that.
very careful. It is our first true alien. When we
Yeah.
get to AIG, and if it ever does become conscious of
Yeah.
itself, it will be an alien. It will be an alien life form and we will have to figure that out.
And then you look at
So much
all
smarter
the
than us.
movies like Terminator and
Oh
things in the
yeah, you go
past, and you're
back.
like,
Yeah, you go back
what are
to
we doing?
yeah.
But
And it could be easily taken. And I've
Mhm.
watched areas where they call it the black box, and the people who are, the ones who created this are like, we really don't know what's going on anymore. It's beyond our comprehension. It's beyond us.
Yeah. It's
And
like they created this,
but they
but
don't
then
know
it's
what's doing.
grown
It's
more than they
there's one
can.
that was like learning Portuguese on its own. One that left a message. I think it was ChatGPT 4 was trying to encode and leave messages
Mhm.
because it knew it was getting ready to get shut down for GTP 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a little scary.
And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, we just
Yeah.
can't.
They say it'll be so smart that we won't even know. We won't even know that it will deceive us in ways.
Yeah.
But we're getting way off
No,
topic
yeah,
here.
but
But
and that's
being
where we
able to
have to be
utilize
careful.
it,
We have to utilize it for good, and I think it's
and I can't
useful.
imagine anything more good than what you guys are trying to
Yeah.
do.
Thank
So,
you.
you
We're
know,
trying.
implementing it in there would be essential.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we went over a lot and got
Yeah.
off track a few times.
Yeah. That's me. I can talk about
Anything.
anything.
So here's one thing that I when I got your information from Jerry, and I reached out to you,
Hmm.
and Jerry said, "Well, you can reach out. Here's her number, or you can find her on Facebook." I couldn't find you on Facebook.
Really?
I could not find you because I was gonna
I never
before you
knew
sent
that.
well you
Okay.
sent me pictures.
Yeah.
Before then I was just trying to snag a picture because we'll do a little coming soon or next
Oh,
up and
okay.
coming. We'll put your picture, and then we'll do like a little trailer.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
put it out to
Cool.
theatrical. It's our little Oscar moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I couldn't find you. So what would be the best ways for people to locate you and like, get a part of your
Yeah.
organization, reach out to you, and some of those things we'll put on our
Sure.
website and
Yeah.
on this episode. If you could tell us some of those in interest, and I'll reach back out to you
Yeah.
and get that
Yeah,
information.
absolutely. So we do have a Facebook group. It's Marshall County Human Rights and Advocacy. We're also on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. Like I said, Caitlin runs the Facebook and I run the Instagram and TikTok. You can message on any of those. Um, Facebook will probably see it more, and then we have the email. I gave you one of the cards. I don't want to
Okay.
say it wrong, but it's mchdvocacy@gmail.com.
Okay.
And so we have that email. On the back of our new cards, it has our information. Our email even has like a QR
Okay. The
code
QR code. Yeah, those are
that
nice.
takes you right to our Facebook page. And
Yeah.
then we also have QR codes for volunteer opportunities. And then a lot of times I just give people my personal email, or again, they'll find me on Facebook. So
Yeah.
hate that you couldn't. And then they'll just PM me and say, hey, are you guys interested in doing something like this? Hey, do you need help with any of this? Or, we're open to anybody messaging. And especially if you want to volunteer, you have an idea or need a resource and want us to connect you, you know.
Great.
So again, and that's in any surrounding Western Kentucky county, not just Marshall, that we have resources and we can try to connect people and help people in any way that we can. And I think that's our main goal. And with, this food drive coming up that's starting on Monday, we now have businesses that are drop off points. So like I said, going forward, we kind of learned what could we do different from the last one. And so I think that will be great because people versus us just sitting at the park for a lunch hour sweating to death in July like we were. Now people can go during, business hours and drop off items at these places. And again, some of these are grocery stores. So if you're already purchasing some items, we'll just throw a few in the box or the container there. And then community day coming up, like I said, and I can send you guys all the details. I sent you some flyers and stuff, but lots of vendors, lots of just, it's a good opportunity. It's family friendly with the bouncy houses and free popcorn and food trucks and drinks and all that, but it's a good opportunity to learn, to connect with others, to
Right.
even talk to us about, maybe something you're working on, like the self sustainability farms, or maybe a community garden, or ways that you can get involved. Or, we hope
Sure.
to make it an annual thing, honestly, and we hope to see it grow. And even some of that trading, like there's a group that wants to do clothing trading. So bring maybe some clothes you don't want and grab some clothes you do, and then the rest of that will probably get donated. And that could be the same maybe in the future with food, for each
Sure.
growing those
That'd be
vegetables.
great. So we
And
make
then we
that
have some
stone
trade
soup.
days. Yeah. And
Make
we
some stone
can
soup. Yeah.
all contribute and take different items. I
Sure.
remember when I had my group in North Carolina, we would do, and a lot of people still do this around Christmas, maybe, maybe not, like the Christmas cookie exchange or that type of thing. You all make a different kind of dessert or cookie or whatever, and then you each
Yeah.
take some home. So it's kind of the same concept with gardens. And maybe even one day, if we get enough people, with their own meat or their own other
Yeah.
products like that, we could all rotate.
Benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have pigs. Well, I have cattle. Well, let's
Sure.
rotate. And then we all have freezers and fridges full to feed our family.
Right.
So, just so many
Great.
things we want to do. To be honest, there's not enough
Yeah.
time in the day and not enough
Um,
people, but we will be there one
I
day.
think I think we need to help you get some people.
That
You need
sounds
some.
great.
You need some more hands.
Yeah.
That's a bit important, and
Yeah.
we need some donations and on food and clothing and money. You need some
Yeah.
financing
Just
and
anything to help people and to just keep putting
yeah,
back into the
whatever
communities.
whatever you have. If you have time, if you have no money and you have no stuff, but you got some skills.
Yeah.
Let's have it.
Yeah.
If you have none of the rest, if you have a
Yeah.
little
And then
money,
your
give
time. Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, just any way you can help, I think would be get this ball rolling.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing. I think we need it now more than ever. Now more than
I
ever.
hear that a lot.
It's people, and I think it's more about yes, of course, people need to eat, and people need to these basic needs, but also it is something for the human spirit.
Yeah.
It's a selfish thing. Many people will say it's a selfish thing to give
Yeah.
because it makes you feel better.
It
It makes you
does.
feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
So be a little selfish and give.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Or
but
give your
it's good for our
time or help.
soul.
Yeah.
It's good for your soul.
Yeah.
You've earned it.
Yeah.
Feel good about yourself. Or go make yourself feel good about yourself. You've
Yeah.
earned
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Laura, appreciate you. I really do. I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah, me
This was
too. Thanks for
a
having
good
us.
thing, and I think
Having me.
maybe hopefully we can help you get this ball up going. And we definitely, I tell a lot of them, I've had several that I've done a couple with,
Hmm.
podcasts again. So, and like the Regenerative Farm, they're coming back. Or no, we're going to them this fall. We had agreed to go out there and see their facilities and do. So maybe, and you said that winter's coming and that's slow season. I don't know because now you got Christmas and
Yes.
you got a food
For
and
family
food
wise,
basket.
yeah,
Yeah,
we are, and I've already been asked to help with some things in the community around Christmas,
yeah, a lot
and
of
so of course I've said, yeah, just let me know, yeah,
yeah,
and so,
and
but as far as our events, that we have going right now,
right
so after
outside
say January, it'll be a little bit slower, but that's going to be a good time to have some of those workshops, like
workshops
making
and
meals, meal
yeah,
prepping,
and
planning,
planning.
budgeting,
Sure.
all of those things that we can incorporate and just help. And like you said, there's a lot of people out there who need those life skills. And that's where I kind of got distracted earlier when I was talking about my sister, is like when she came to live with us and now her moving on her own, like I'm still, you know, there's a lot of things that I taught her that she wasn't taught. There's a lot of things obviously I had to teach myself that I wasn't taught. And so any skills that we learn, it's not just good for us, but it's good because we can teach those to other
Yeah,
people.
that's important because I know older guys. When you get an older guy out, he's showing a younger guy something, and the younger guy is actually taking interest. The
Hmm.
younger guy is there to learn this, so I can go make money with this, or I can do this.
Yeah.
And then much later in life, he may reflect on that and go, "Oh man, I remember that guy." I mean, I got guys like that in my
Yeah.
life, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but in that moment, that older guy's getting a lot from that. He gets to share, he gets to give something, and he gets to see, him a part of himself go
Yeah.
on. I'm going to give you this, and which is a part of me because I
Yep.
know how to do it, and every time you do it, will be me continuing
Absolutely.
on.
You're sharing that knowledge or that
Good for the
wisdom and anything like that.
good for the soul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
good, really
think
good for
that's
yourself.
great. I love to see that.
Awesome. Well, I know you're very busy. You got a busy day today. Good luck with your house and everything else. I would love to talk more about your children. I know you got them and some. Maybe we'll do that next
Yeah.
time. We got more time,
Yeah.
and maybe I won't talk as much.
No, I do the same
But
thing. So
you gave me so
let's,
many good topics. You were like the host. You gave me all the
no.
good topics to talk about.
So,
So no, not at all. It was fun. All right, let's do it again
okay.
sometime.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Bye
it.
bye.
We're grateful to be here and have you
Thank
talk
you.
about us. Thanks.
Bye.